Hello and welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined as always by Owen, and we're just here to basically give our reaction to the news that Canelo is back on his May date. That's become synonymous with him really to face Jermall Charlo this time for the undisputed super middleweight championship. Of course, he coming off the back of a win against Jermall's younger brother Jermall last year, and now he gets to complete the family set, I suppose, in this one. So yeah, I suppose we'll just jump into it. First of all, hope you're well, and yeah, just give me your thoughts on this one, this fight. Obviously, there was numerous names bandied about for this one. Jaime Munguia, David Benavidez,
Mm.
even Terence Crawford coming up from welterweight for this one. So, what do you think? It's Charlo who secured the date with Canelo, and yeah, what do you think of the fight, and where would you rank it in terms of your preference as to who you wanted Canelo to fight?
Yeah, firstly, thank you for having me on. And I'm disappointed. It's a weird disappointment because I feel when Canelo fought Jamal, he should have been fighting Jamal. Because obviously, Jamal being the junior middleweight champ, we've seen Canelo going all the way up now through to 175. I think it's highly disappointing that he's reigned supreme at super middleweight for quite a period now that he didn't fight. Obviously the younger Charlo brother in Jamal. So I think if this was the first sort of Charlo fight, then you'd be like, yeah, okay, but everyone knows it's either on a date that's so special to him, an all Mexican clash with the likes of Jaime Munguia or even fighting David Benavidez is my choice. I think Benavidez is the toughest fight for him. He's long, he's rangy, he's powerful. Um, so I think it's Benavidez would probably be getting Canelo at the best time for his career. But then I think when you look at it, would Benavidez be at the right time for Canelo's career? Probably not. Obviously Crawford, if we're looking at American opponents, Crawford would be an absolute pound for pound great fight. If Crawford gets the win, that puts Crawford well up within the pound for pound rankings and one of the best ever probably, but in between some people's opinions. Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one for me. I think we're so used to Canelo being in these major fights, and then he has the tune-ups, when he fought the likes of, he's been in Golovkin more than once, but he's also fought Avni Yildirim in that sort of time frame. So, yeah, disappointing, really.
Yeah, it's hard not to kind of disagree with you on that one. It is an underwhelming choice, as you say. I think the preferred choice for most boxing fans would be Benavidez. Outside of Canelo, he's the man at super middleweight, isn't he? And people just kind of, I suppose, rightly assume that he does have the tools to beat Canelo, the size, the power, the speed, kind of the durability. But so it is quite disappointing. Like it's not the worst fight in the world. Like I suppose there could be worse fights out there for Canelo in terms of I don't know like name value. Charlo is a good fighter, but it's the fact that how his career has gone over the last 3 years, one fight in the last 3 years, largely inactive. He's kind of wasting away for the talent that he has. So yeah, I just think it's the wrong time. This should have happened, as you mentioned, when he fought Jermall, but I think this should have happened kind of years ago, to be honest with you. It should have happened Canelo and Charlo. Maybe around the time Canelo fought Danny Jacobs, I think this fight should have happened and it would have been much more kind of sought after and kind of clamored for. So yeah, it is quite disappointing in a way. It is. So let's talk about the fight itself. Let's get into the fight. Do you give Charlo much of a chance here? Where do you see his best success in this fight, if any, against Canelo to kind of better what his brother done? And could you see him upsetting the odds here?
No, I think it'll just be the
No.
same outcome as when he fought his brother. Well, I think we've had this debate before, and I did rank sort of Jamal as a better fighter than Jamal. So I think you have to give him probably maybe 0.5% more chance than his brother to beat Canelo. Um, I think at this weight, Canelo is just going to pile the pressure on. We've seen him sort of just picking off opponents when he chooses to stop them. If he, it almost feels like if he wants to go to points, he'll go to points. So I do feel like Charlo has to essentially run for 12 rounds, get in, get out, and make use of as much of the ring as possible. It needs to try and make that ring. Obviously, Canelo is going to try and make the ring as small as possible, and I think Jermall Charlo needs to make the ring as big as possible. That's the only sort of slight chance that I do give him. He is unbeaten. I believe he's coming in on the back of beating David Benavidez, his brother, Jose. So that adds a bit of fire into it with David looking at the Canelo fight as well. But yeah, I just think it'll be another easy night's work for Canelo, to be honest. No disrespect to Charlo, obviously he's unbeaten. He's got a decent resume. He's beat the likes of Derevyanchenko. Um, he hasn't got a massively sort of stat record, but yeah, for me, it's another fairly simple night's work for Canelo.
Again, I'd have to agree, to be honest. I'm gonna go back to what I said in the build up to the Jermall fight, really, is that I just think Canelo does everything Charlo does better than Charlo does. Maybe a jab, solid jab from both Charlo brothers, but apart from that, Canelo just beats him in every department. And then you add into that the size difference is going to be key. Charlo, former junior middleweight, now middleweight. Canelo up at super middleweight now has been a light heavyweight, and also as mentioned before, I just have to say that the inactivity has to be a factor here for Charlo, for Mal Charlo. At least kind of Jermell Charlo was keeping active against top level opposition. You can't say the same for Jermall. Has he been living the life? Evidently not. Inactive, missing weight when he came back against Benavidez. So I just think, yeah, if this fight was a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, it would have been much more appealing. So yeah, I have to say, I think Canelo kind of controls it like he did against Jamel, controls the majority of it, picks him off, times him, and I'm gonna say he stops him. I'm gonna say Canelo to stop Jermall Charlo pretty late on in a pretty one-sided affair. Yeah. So yeah, that's our predictions. But one more question I want to ask you before we go. Let's look ahead now. He announced it on Mexican TV. He's gonna fight May and September, the 2 dates that are synonymous with him. Every year gets them dates. So let's look ahead. We both touched on the fact that Benavidez is the one that we want. I think most boxing fans want Canelo Benavidez, undoubtedly. Not who do you think Canelo's going to fight in September? Not who you want. Who do you think is going to get that September date after he fights Charlo, if he wins, obviously?
Um, I could see it being a mandatory defense at super middle. Um, I think we've seen it before, like I said, where Canelo takes his mandatories. I think the best one is you put Canelo in with Avni Yildirim. Look what happened, but it was a case of gets his mandatories out the way, and he goes back to another big one. I suppose he's fighting unbeaten Charlo. Charlo, we're looking is held the IBF title for light middle for a good period. I know he's not been the most active fighter, but then obviously the WBC at middleweight. So yeah, I think he'll get this out of the way. I can't see him having a huge fight in September. You can see how long his camp's going to be. He'll have been in camp since the start of this year, sort of thing. So I can see it just being another tune-up fight, and then potentially a bigger one, the start of 2025. And then obviously I'm sure we'll be having a discussion similar to this time next year when he announces his Cinco de Mayo opponent again. But yeah, I'd love it to be a huge fight in September. I just think it'll be a basic mandatory defense, to be honest.
I'm gonna disagree. I think this will be our first disagreement of the video, but I just have a feeling, and it's a name I haven't mentioned to you yet. Well, multiple names. I have a feeling he might look to get Bivol or Beterbiev in September. I know they're fighting in June 1st. The winner of that, providing not much damage is taken by either, I think he's going to look to get that, especially if it's Bivol, to kind of avenge that defeat. But yeah, even if it's Beterbiev winning, I could see him kind of looking for that. If not, Terence Crawford. I can see Terence Crawford happening as well. Would you say beat Terence Crawford, Canelo? If that was to happen, it's been mooted. Do you reckon Canelo could beat or Crawford could jump up and beat Canelo?
I think the issue is obviously we've seen Canelo fight at multiple different weights, and he weren't although sort of against Bivol, you could quite visibly see the weight difference. Himself, he didn't look overly out of his depth, whereas we've seen sort of Crawford at welterweight and light welterweight and even lightweight for such a long time now. He's nearly 40. He's getting there by the time this comes around. Obviously, he'll be 37. Sorry, so yeah, he's edging towards the 40, and it's a big step up for him. He's not the biggest welterweight, is Crawford, so I just think the step up might be a bit too much in weight. It's an unbelievable fight. I personally think Benavidez would beat Canelo if they fight. But other than that, if you look at anyone that's going to fight Canelo, I'd bar your Bivol, which is one step too far. I think Crawford has got the best chance out of the names we've mentioned, bar Benavidez, but I just think it might be a step too far at this stage of his career. However, it's the fight we need to see fights like that. So ideally, after Charlo, like you say, Canelo's next two fights are Crawford and are Benavidez. But yeah, I think it'll be just a little step too far.
Yeah, I agree. A bridge too far, to be honest. Although it is a super fight, but let's get Charlo out of the way first. Yeah, that's our reaction to Canelo and Charlo becoming official for May 4th, Cinco de Mayo weekend in Las Vegas. Let us know what you think in the comments. Can Charlo pull off the upset? Can he kind of reveal the talent that we know is there and cause a shock against Canelo to derail all these future plans, or will it be another routine win for Canelo heading into September? So, yeah, drop us a like, subscribe on the socials, give us a follow. A lot of great content coming up, and on speak again next time.
Pleasure as always, mate.
Cheers.